What I think is unique about the president, and people should give him credit for this, he is, what your show is called, the decider.
Behind every major policy decision, every corporate strategy, every Washington power play are the insiders shaping the game and the new rules to win it. The Deciders, with Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Brody Mullins and veteran DC strategist Lisa Camooso Miller.
Welcome to The Deciders, where we talk to the insiders rewriting the playbook on effective advocacy. Today, we're joined by Brian Ballard of Ballard Partners, one of the most successful lobbyists in Washington, D.C. Brian, it is great to have you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it very much.
Brian, in Donald Trump's first time in office, you were arguably the most successful lobbyist in Washington. Now you're outdoing yourself, and last year you've done almost as well as the entire previous 4 years. What's your secret sauce?
Well, thank you, by the way, for saying that and noticing. We're fortunate. The first 4 years, the first administration, I think, taught us how to really lobby and get things done in D.C. I came from Tallahassee, as you know, and it took us a while to understand the process, the workings of government. And over those 4 years, and in the 4 years in the wilderness, let's just say, after that, it gave us a chance to really get our team in place, figure out how things worked. And now I think we're in a position where we're really cooking with gas, and we built a team of over 40 lobbyists, and it's a lot easier. You can see commentators in sports saying the game has slowed down for some of these athletes in the second, third year. I think it's like that way for us. It's slowed down. We get it. We understand the playing field a lot better, and I think I think that's why we're doing pretty well.
I think that makes you the only person in Washington who thinks things have slowed down in the last year.
Well, I don't mean what the president is doing. I mean how we see things. I think we're able to understand what's going on and not just ourselves overreact, but allow our clients to overreact.
Brian, with a business that is as robust as yours, can you walk us through a day in the life of Brian Ballard? I have to imagine that it's a pretty busy day.
Yeah, my days are busy. I like that. I love to work. It's like the only thing I do. So it depends. Most days, if I'm not traveling and I'm here, I like to work out every day. So I get up kind of early and work out. I like to get in the office about 9, try to have no meetings before 10. And then from 10 on, I'll probably do, between meetings and Zooms, I'll probably do 12 a day. And then at night, client interaction, and then go back. They go back home after dinner. What makes it a little easier for me is I've raised my kids. They're grown. My wife comes back and forth, but sometimes I'm here and I'm just able to work, and not all the things that I did when I started the firm and grew the firm in Florida. The family obligations, they're still there, but they're not nearly what it was. And so I'm freed up, and it's a really fun time in my life.
Would you say that some of what you learned and what you did in Tallahassee has, at least in some way, relayed and allowed you to be more successful here in Washington?
Oh, 100%. Florida, other than Texas, is a second largest Republican state in the country, and it's a huge budget, huge issues that you face. Those pretty much the same issues. The difference here is it's the universe is in D.C. In Florida, it's a smaller universe, but it's a good place to train and learn. And I felt very comfortable in Florida that we could handle any issue. I feel that way now in D.C., but it took a while.
Mm-hmm. When it comes to advocating in the Trump administration, what do you see that other firms are doing that are wrong? What mistakes are people making?
Well, I don't want to criticize, my fellow practitioners. Actually, when I came to D.C., I was treated very well by folks on K Street, and they said, "Listen, welcome to town, tough place, but we'll compete fairly." And I always enjoyed that. So I don't want to say what other folks are doing right or wrong. There's some really good folks out there, and competition's tough. It's not like it was 8 years ago. We face sharp competition. Guys are getting a lot of good things done and serve their clients well.
I'm curious. We talk a lot about K Street. We talk a lot about access and influence. You're someone who does have the cell phone of the president. You have access to the administration. I'm curious to know not so much the nature of those conversations. I'm actually curious a little bit about the man. When you talk to the president, and perhaps it's not about business, does he talk about golf? Is he interested in talking about football? I'm sure that there are other things that are of interest to him. I'm curious about that.
Well, that's a great question. He is a guy's guy. He's a lot of fun. He frequently teases me. I mean, I catch a lot of grief from him, which I enjoy. I think it's always fun to be around him. Sports. He loves sports. Last time I was with him, I didn't play, but I got to see him after he played a round of golf with Luke Donald, the Ryder Cup captain on the wrong team. But he lives in Florida now, and it's just fascinating to see the president and his interaction with athletes. So it's a lot of fun, and he's a very smart guy and a lot kinder and gives a lot more grace than people think.
Related to that, I think a lot of companies, when they hire you, probably think they're getting access right to Trump. What does a Fortune 500 company get by hiring you? Is it your access, the fact that you can call the president, or is it your understanding of what he thinks or the process?
Well, you very rarely lobby the president. I mean, I think that, and if folks are hiring us for that, they're quickly told that's not going to be the case. It's a very rare thing. I think what we can provide them is access to the entirety of the government, the agency heads, all the bureaucracy, all the things that really drive things. And eventually, if there's something, that needs a higher review, we try to provide that if possible. But I think more and more what I do, which is something I'm enjoying more in my career, is I'm able to talk to CEOs and advise them about how I would handle a situation, especially with this administration. And when I started my career, CEOs, I looked at them as people who were older, more sophisticated, and had been around the block a little bit more than me. Now I'm either older than a lot of these guys, or we're peers as far as age. And my experience level, it's made it more comfortable for me to actually have the temerity to say, yes, I'm going to advise you, this Fortune 100 CEO, on how to handle your business in D.C. But I'm comfortable in doing that, and I'm glad that I'm asked to do that more.
Is there a particular win or a case study or something you're especially proud of in the work that you've done? Is there something we're really curious about getting inside of how a process came together for you that you're...
I'd love to brag and talk to you about specific things of where we change things, which we've done, and we've had wins, significant wins. I'd rather answer that by what I think is our process and sort of my advice to clients. And it is whether it's Nippon Steel or TikTok or reclassification of marijuana or things you've seen in the news over the Trump administration, all clients we've represented. At some point in time, those outcomes look pretty bleak. Successful outcomes look pretty bleak. And my advice in this administration, especially in this administration, is stay with it, stay on it, keep grinding. There may be a tweet that you don't like. There may be some policy EO that you don't care for, but keep grinding. And over time, if you're right and you've got, and I think the clients we've represented have been right, that's the most important thing. You can prevail. Don't give up. A lot of folks get a tweet and they go, oh, Lord, I'm bailing. You can work your way around that. You just have to make your arguments to the right folks.
With the way that government is changing and government power is changing and the way Trump has pulled power into the White House and sort of minimized the role of Congress, when you hire someone, do you look for someone who knows the congressional process or really just people who know how the administration works?
Well, I'm glad you asked that because everyone thinks we're just executive branch. We have 4 former chiefs of staff in the House, Republican and Democrat. We have members of Congress. We just announced bringing on a Senate chief of staff. So we have a pretty deep bench on congressional affairs. We don't get any attention on that, but we do a lot of congressional work. And one of the reasons we were able to survive in the Biden years and prosper, I think we finished in 2024 somewhere around the top 15 in revenue, was because we could do work in Congress and we can work both sides of the aisle. So I think you cannot do this by being simply an executive branch shop. I don't think you can be successful.
We're going to take a quick break and be right back with Brian Ballard.
Energy is all around us. It's how we move, how we grow, how we build, and how we make every day a little easier. We're all around, always powering America. When energy demand is growing and fast, what we build today will secure a more affordable, more reliable future with enough energy to go around for generations to come.
We are back with Brian Ballard on The Deciders. Brian, I'm curious, have you ever had to tell a client no?
Frequently. First of all, we turn down a lot of business. Before they're a client, we turn down a lot of folks. A lot more, I think we do a lot more scrutiny now on client vetting than we did the first 4 years. We found out we represented some folks we didn't really want to represent. Once you've done all you can do, and if you're not going to win the issue, so literally yesterday I had a client, and a good client, a religious organization, that we had done all we could do and opened every door we could, discussed the policy at really the highest levels, and we were not going to achieve what they wanted. And I had to basically say, we're done. And he's like, no, don't you think we can do this and that? I got, no, we're done. And I don't want to take anyone's money if we can't be successful. So yeah, it's an interesting time especially when you say, I can't take your money anymore. They're kind of like, wow, really?
Speaking of money, there's so many ways that Trump has changed advocacy and lobbying in D.C. and so many other topics involving Washington. But one way is it seems like money is so much more involved in advocacy and lobbying. You've got the Super PAC and the Trump MAGA PAC, and you've got the Presidential Library and the White House renovation and this and that, the other thing. And it seems like so many big companies are just flooding those avenues with money. Is money central to advocacy in Trump world now, or is it possible to advocate without putting coins in the coin machine?
100% possible, and by far the majority of folks that I represent don't contribute in any form or fashion. We have approximately 350 clients in D.C. Maybe 50 participate. The other 300 are doing just fine.
Would you say that the nature of the way this town has worked or is working will adjust back to the way it once was, or has Trump changed the game going forward as it relates to influence?
I think he has. What I think is unique about him, and people should give him credit for this, he is, what your show is called, the decider. Mm. There's 8 or 10 people in the administration on all the issues that really matter that come to him directly. It's not some bureaucratic attempt to be, let's go through these 18 different portals. Big decisions are made by him after he hears all the evidence. And I think that's unique. I hope that continues because I think it's good for the country. People elected that person, not some unelected guy, that's trying to run things from his office in the old executive office building. So I like that.
I have a question, though, as we compare Trump 1.0 to Trump 2.0.
Sure.
Would you give us a little bit of a flavor of how it's operating differently today than it did in the first round?
A huge difference. Mm-hmm. And I had an advantage in the first administration because there were very, very few folks that we were in competition with. Now there's tons of competition. So for our business, that's the first thing. But what's so different now is Susie Wiles and the organization that she's brought to the White House, the discipline. These people in the White House are loyal to the president. They're loyal to one another. The backbiting, the leaks to the media, that stuff, by and large, doesn't exist. I just think Susie's done such a terrific job in organizing the government, not just the White House. And these folks like one another. These cabinet secretaries like one another. And I think they know they can go to the president directly. And if they have an issue that's important to them, they'll get heard. And so I think this administration is firing on all cylinders. You may not like it. You may not like the policy, but you certainly see things moving at the speed of light.
I've heard a story about perhaps you put the two of them together, the chief and the president. Is that true?
I was lucky. I was at the right place at the right time. Susie was running our Jacksonville office, and she said, I want to meet him. I think he could be president of the United States. And about that same time, he was talking about running for president of the United States. And so I was happy to put the two of them together. They're two people that have a kind of a perfect fit. And I'm really proud of her. And I'm really happy to see the Trump administration under a chief of staff who is not about himself or herself. But the first 4 chiefs of staff that he had, I kind of felt that there was an agenda for the chiefs of staff. I don't believe Susie Wiles has an agenda other than to make Donald Trump the most successful president she can.
Will you talk to me a little bit about what it looked like when Joe Biden was in the White House?
Well, it was sad. It wasn't a happy time for us. I'm not a partisan guy. I mean, I think I actually met Joe Biden when Bob Martinez was nominated for drug czar, and he was very kind to Governor Martinez in the confirmation process. And so I've always thought he was a very nice person. So in those 4 years, I never went into the White House. No shock there. We built out a strong Democrat bench, which we'd already had some. But I took that opportunity to also do things in California and Massachusetts and set up these affiliations that we have around the world. And so not in anticipation of President Trump coming back, but that we could build a basis for the next administration. And I think that's one of the reasons we have really been so successful when President Trump came back, is we did all these things in these different markets that I don't think anyone in our space, law firms do it, but I don't think anyone in the lobbying space has done.
Trump has really changed how political power is held in Washington, pulling power from Congress to the White House and even from his own executive branch, to his desk in terms of acting on executive orders and not working through Congress or the regular process. Do you think that will change going forward? Will the next president, Republican or Democrat, give that power back to Congress? Will Congress go back to functioning the way it did for our entire lifetimes, or is this a permanent state?
Well, a lot of it depends on what the majorities are. A 50-50 split in the House between Republicans and Democrats plays to the interest of the president, whatever president that is. So the House is basically neutralized. And, if you are willing to do things that are robust, that say, listen, and I'm going to do what I need to do by executive order and get the criticism of being a quote unquote dictator. Well, he's getting things done. I hope presidents will do it this way. I may disagree with them. I mean, if we get a Gavin Newsom or someone like that, and he does the same thing and he's putting policies in that I don't like, I can understand being irritated by that. But at least we'll have a leader in office and not someone who just waits for permission from Congress. I love a strong executive.
I think that you're completely right. And at some point, we will have a Democrat president. And that Democrat, whoever it is going to swing things all the way back to the left. And then we'll have a Republican who will swing things back to the right. And I feel like that's the era that we're living in now, where we have these huge extreme switches from one side to the other, which I think is bad for business. At the end of the day, business wants stability, security, certainty. And the system that we set up is the opposite of that right now.
I don't disagree with that, but I think that's upon political leaders to not be so far to the left or so far to the right. And that's to me what scares me is we're electing the farthest end of both spectrums as the nominee. And so the choice is not like, are you Bush versus Clinton? It's two far different candidates. And that's you're right. Things are going to change. I wish we could drive things more to the center, but I'm old-fashioned.
We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
I've worked at Coca-Cola for 21 years.
We're delivering Dr. Pepper from our brand new facility in Dallas, Texas.
We're really proud to still make Pepsi products in America.
You don't need a college degree to work here, but I put 4 kids through college by working here.
This is a great place to work with great people and great American brands.
Grocery stores, convenience stores, restaurants, they all depend on us.
We deliver great paying jobs.
We deliver beverages people love.
We deliver for our community.
We're back on The Deciders with Brian Ballard. So you mentioned there's more competition now for your business in the Trump second administration versus the first. When a client comes in to see you or a potential client and have got choices among other people who are connected to Trump, what differentiates you? How do you set yourself apart?
My mom has always told me not to be braggadocio, and I got that literally beaten into me as a kid. So we try not to brag. We're not trying not to oversell. I'm not a salesman. They come to see us because they asked to have a meeting. So I would just say our clients really give us great referrals. Our work product stands, I think, atop anybody's. And if you look at this administration in the second Trump term is so Florida-centric. You have, obviously, the president's a Floridian. You have Pam Bondi, you have Susie, you have Marco, you have Mike Wallace, you have many of the deputies in the White House. I could go through the entirety of government. We've had the pleasure of knowing these folks for a long, long time. And so it gives us an advantage, I think. We don't always win, but at least we know the government and not just the president.
Another follow-up question. If a Democrat wins in the next election, you plan on sticking around?
Oh, yeah. We're not. Our firm will be around after I'm gone. We're not going anywhere. I mean, I think we'll continue to grow in markets around the country and around the world. We're here to stay.
Brian, we ask every decider 3 questions. What is something in the last year that you are especially proud of?
Well, that's a hard question to answer, but I am really proud of the fact that our firm is really, to me, a second family. There is no one when I go to my office that I don't want to see, and we try to build it that way. I really feel that when I walk into the office, everybody there, it feels like I've done I'll give myself some credit, a good job of curating great people that really get along and love working and love serving their clients. So I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the work environment we've built.
And what is your mulligan? What's one decision you'd like to have a do-over on?
You know what I should have done, and I still might do? I want to create a index of the clients we represent, a stock index, and see how that competes against the S&P, because I think our clients do so well. I should have done this a long time ago. So I'd like to do that because I think it gives you a real market reality of how our folks are doing overall versus how the average S&P is. And I hope I'm right. I think we'd be better than the S&P.
So we have the Pelosi stock index and the Ballard stock index and put them head to head?
Well, as long as it's not insider trading, yeah. She'd probably beat me, though, I would think. She beats everybody else.
Brian, what is one thing that people in Washington are not thinking about that they ought to be?
I am scared to death of the next mayor, who the next mayor of Washington, D.C. is going to be. We are going to probably elect a socialist, not just a socialist like the guy in New York, but even further to the left. This city is more dangerous than people think. So I worry about what the next mayor, I think Mayor Bowser's been terrific and done as well as she can do. I really worry about the city of the District of Columbia and the city government. I really think we're in a dangerous period. So I don't want to end our time on a dark note, but I'm worried about that.
But it's a smart word of caution. And it actually reminds me of one other question I want to ask before we finish today. Brian, you talk about the team that you've built at Ballard Partners. I'm curious, what kinds of counsel advice do you give to the junior staff on the team or folks that are aspiring to advance in the firm?
Well, there are a lot of things. They probably get irritated with all the advice I try to give them. But one is be a grinder, work really hard. These opportunities that we have don't come around very often. So that's the first thing. But the most important thing is keep your credibility. Be straight with people, both your clients and the people you advocate for. There's nothing worse than getting that reputation as one of those lobbyists who will just say and do anything to get through that one period. Your career is a long time, and if you get that reputation, there's no getting that off you.
I love that answer, and I think it's good counsel.
Thank you.
Brian, thanks so much for joining us on The Deciders.
It's been a lot of fun. Thank you, guys.
Great to have you.
Voters want strong local stations. The president has called for more competition. The FCC chair has said the rules are outdated. Now it's time to act. The FCC must modernize ownership rules so local TV stations can keep serving their communities. Let's get it done. Lift the cap. Learn more at neb.org/modernize the rules. This message paid for by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Welcome back to The Deciders. That was Brian Ballard. Lisa, what do you think?
I think it's an inherently Washington thing that the way you perceive someone and how they are in real life is very different. If you were to read the reports of who Brian Ballard is and then to meet him and have a conversation, he's a very grounded and realistic point of view. And he described the president that way, too.
So you're blaming the media. Typical. I actually had a similar thought that he was humble, and I put it in a broader historical context. You know, one of the things we talk about Trump is how he's changed Washington in so many different ways. And one of the major ways is that he's taken all power from Congress and from the administration, brought it to the White House and to himself. And that's changed how Washington has worked back to a period before the 1970s. Before the 1970s, the people who ran the Washington were really just the President of the United States and the Speaker of the House and the Senate Majority Leader. And at that time, there was only a few lobbyists who roamed Washington, people like Tommy the Corcoran and Clark Clifford. And despite Brian Ballard being very humble, he's really in that category. We're going to be reading books about a guy like Brian Ballard, who was the single most important lobbyist and corporate figure for the last 10 years. And I think that when we're talking to him and he seems so humble, we need to remember in historical context, this guy's a real giant.
I couldn't agree more. And he talked about his humble beginnings, but a lot of those connections go back to Florida and that foundation that he started there.
Well, thanks for joining us on The Deciders.
The Deciders is hosted by Brody Mullins and Lisa Camooso Miller and produced by Dave Tobey. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Find more online at deciders.show and follow The Deciders on YouTube, LinkedIn, and X.